Welcome back to another episode of T3. I'm your boy, Mr. U. Herb's in the house. Shane Ratliff in the command center. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Shane looked like he ready to roll tonight, man. I like it.
Yeah, he look intense. I'm like, are we ready for the heat he's about to bring tonight? I'm not sure.
No one is ever really prepared for Shane. You just have to experience it, man.
Good evening, Mr. Ragsdale. Good to have you in the house. Roll Tide, my brother. Good to hear from you today. Well, we got a lot on the plate, man. But first off, man, our prayers go out to the folks in California, man. This is insane. To be honest with you, as much stuff as they've shown on the weather outlet, I mean, I even got up on the TV over here to kind of stay away. I got some family somewhere out there. Don't know what they're doing. If they're affected, can't really tell. So kind of just watching, like almost on a 24-hour loop. But I don't know how this stuff even started. It's like 5. I still haven't heard yet how 5 fires started. I'm missing that part. So if you guys know, enlighten me, because I have no idea what's happening. But this is intense, man.
Someone posted about an arsonist, but it's like the way information comes out these days, you have no idea. Like, is this something that's verified? Is this just the next person posting or sending it out? Like, I don't know anymore.
You know anything, Shane?
It's listed as man-made. So, like,
isn't everything?
I don't know. Yeah, well, I was going to say, I don't know if you guys use, like, Microsoft, but one of the weather apps that's on Microsoft also has, like, a fire setting where you can see forest fires in anywhere in the world, and you can click on it, and it will tell you, like, how it started. It could be man-made. It could be directly arson if they say that that's why it was set on purpose. And then it gives you like the percentage of it that's been contained. So like if you look in California right now, those 5 fires, it seems like one of them was listed as man-made, and then the other ones have been because of the amount of wind that's been catching through that Santa Ana breeze that has just helped the fire hop, and this is already fire season for them in California. So I think just like you said, your heart goes out to people that are caught in this situation, and it looks bad for California too. There's been some cuts to the fire departments out there, and it's times like this, people always say, when you want to see where your money goes, who are you going to call when you need them?
Right.
Having ill-equipped firefighters out there trying to save people's lives in a profession where you're already putting your life at risk every day. It's tough to see that as well.
Yeah.
No doubt. Having relatives that have lived out there for, my dad, when he was alive, he was out there for probably 40-something years, something like that. Man, so you keep up with the California situation. So they have wildfires all the time, but I've never seen some of the pictures I saw when we got on air. I'm talking about miles and miles of just nothing but rubble. I'm like, I haven't seen that before. I've seen little sections, but never miles and miles of just rubble. I mean, like nothing. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
It's a terrible situation. Yeah.
The whole thing about you and Microsoft, talk about that one later on. Like, I don't understand Microsoft. What you doing with that? What's the big idea, man? Who does that besides shit? But that's all good, though. But our hearts go out to them. I know as far as sports implications go, they got to figure out what they're going to do with the NFC wildcard game with the Vikings and the Rams. I think they got a backup plan to go to Glendale, Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not
moved
sure.
The Lakers game tonight or something like that, right, too? There's a basketball game that's already postponed.
Yeah, the Lakers, too. I feel like there's something else, too, that they're moving around. It's the Lakers, and it was a third thing, but I can't recall what it is. I don't know how far Glendale is from this area, so I don't know if they're going to get any kind of smoke residue or whatever, or is it far enough away where it's not going to impact them? Because when they had wildfires before, people in Arizona were feeling the impacts of it. So I don't know where Glendale is on the map. Maybe you can check out the map and see where Glendale is. South. If it's southwest, that ain't going to be far enough away. But I don't know. We'll see. But aside from that, I guess we can move to more lighter topics and talk a little bit about football. Before you know it, season's going to be over.
Yeah.
Even the college is about to be over. Your boy Carson Beck, I've been talking about him a little bit on Twitter. he's going into the transfer portal. Didn't expect that. So he's going into the draft. I figured he might be at least somewhere. Well, I thought maybe a first round pick, but then some things happened in the past couple of games. Didn't make him look so great. So I think maybe upper second round, mid second round pick, maybe. But now he's going into the transfer portal. Projected to be the highest paid player in sports history. Doesn't mean a whole lot nowadays because everybody gets the highest paid when they sign one of these deals. It's not really a landmark anymore. But he has 1 year of eligibility left, and he's thinking about going to the Miami Hurricanes, where Cam Ward is leaving. He's projected to be a number 1, number 2 pick in this year's draft. So really weird stuff going on. I think that his injury is playing a part in this. He doesn't want to throw. He drafted, probably can't. So I guess his best option in his mind is to stay in of the year and go to Miami. What do you guys think about this?
He's dating one of the Cavender twins, and she's still down in Miami. So that had an influence.
You think?
Yeah. So
that was going to be my second point, Herb. Way to bring that up.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just weird to and this is one of those things too, where like Miami's a destination. I haven't looked at their recruiting class. I haven't looked at all their transfer portal work. You really don't know what kind of team they're gonna have. Like you almost have to wait until after spring, sometime middle of summer, to make a true assessment of what the team's gonna look like after they lose Cam Ward. But when do we get to the point, man, where you foregoing the draft to do one more year? Because I think he's like his 6th year he's been around now. So it's crazy. And if y'all were making it work before this, like I didn't think I mean, what happens next year if you do get, let's say you have a great year in Miami and you go to the draft? Are we revisiting this, next year? You'll tell them, hey, the only 2 teams that can draft me are the Dolphins or the Bucks. Like, what are we doing here as far as your future? So, I don't know. It's a crazy situation.
I think the other thing that shows up is he lost 2 security blankets that are going to end up being top 5 in offensive rookie of the year. As a tight end and a wide receiver. Brock Bowers has already broken a tight end record. Ladd McConkey is having a great season. He won't get the wide receiver, and that's because of some great action in Jacksonville, but with Brian Thomas. But Beck showed that offense through that, but he doesn't have the same exact weapons. He didn't make some of the same plays. Even when he was healthy, he didn't look great.
No.
But I mean, I don't know why you make this move. Like, I can't imagine that Miami has a bigger NIL deal. I mean, he was already driving around a Ferrari.
A Lambo.
Yeah, Lambo. So, like, what else are you going to get from Miami?
There's 2 other things that are going along with what you said there, Shane. One, there's a lot of people that seem to think the Lambo kind of got to his head. And that's why the team was so ready to rally around Gunner Stock. Like, I don't think Georgia is like upset that he left at all. So that was part of it. And then like Georgia led the league in drops. So to your first point about not having, Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers, what was left there was terrible. So there were times he played okay and they didn't help him out. And you kind of saw in their game against Notre Dame, they didn't help Gunner out anymore either.
No,
but his play was not good either for most of the season. He was just really inconsistent. And a lot of people seem to think it's his attitude. And I mean, how it is. You're the quarterback. All eyes are on you. But if you're taking a Lambo, like we need some great play from you.
And Herb, you cover this league every single week.
I thought you were gonna tell me I know about Lambos. I was like, yeah, baby.
Did you ever think that the only SEC team that's going to return a quarterback that's going to be worth anything right now are the Vanderbilt Commodores? I mean everyone,
and that man had to fight, kicking and screaming. Now, to be fair, South Carolina with Norris is also going to. That'll be the other one.
He didn't start the year as the quarterback, but yes, he'll probably be the number 1 returner. I mean, everyone else.
But that just makes your point even better.
Portal.
Yeah, that makes your point even better, though. If you said Vanderbilt and South Carolina are the only 2 SEC teams that have any kind of continuity, I don't know if you count Texas because we don't really count them as part of the SEC yet anyway. So Arch will be there next year, but he's not the star. You know what I mean? So that's like kind of nitpicking on the phone. But to the rest of your point, yeah. I mean, it's crazy, you know. And then to even further it, I don't think Alabama or Georgia is that upset at the outgoing guys. You know, I think they're just kind of like, all right, we're ready for whatever's next anyway. So it's crazy.
Yeah, that shot, like Yusuf mentioned, you know, it's been out there, especially on X, about back going in the transfer portal. But, you know, normally you have a coach that says something like, oh, you know, we tried our best to keep them. We tried to do anything. Georgia is quiet about this. And that tells me that that decision was already made and that conversation may have happened with Beck. Like it may have been like, understand you come back this year, there's a battle. And he didn't want to hear that. He didn't want to hear, hey, I've got to fight this guy that the locker room already prefers to me, or any of those different questions that are coming out.
Right.
I mean,
I got a
for me,
I can use, but I can't use it.
The other thing for me, though, is like with Beck, I always thought that he, you know, sometimes you're happy to hear like the system quarterback. There was nothing that stuck out to me in Beck's talent realm where I went, this is the thing he's going to hang his hat on. Like, yeah, you had victories, but a lot of times you weren't making those victories because of you. You know, you had strong running game, you had offensive weapons, and you got the ball to where it belongs. And that's great. I'm not going to knock a quarterback for that. That's what you're there for, win. But in this day and age, once it's great for you to win games as a quarterback in college, but the NFL wants you to be able to be at least outstanding in something if they're going to risk a pick on you. And there's nothing that he can hang his hat on.
Yeah. I think the days are gone, kind of like the Trent Dilfers, where your defense is amazing and your quarterback just has to be serviceable. So I get what you're saying there. Now, in his defense, he did lead the SEC in passing yards last year, and he was thought of as a Heisman candidate going into the year. But yeah, the film he put out this year was just, you know, he was in that second tier of groups, kind of like with what Mr. Yu was saying. Nobody had an idea, I guess, where he was going to get drafted because of that second group. You know, like I said, late first, early second. If he slid to the third, would anybody have been shocked with what he was putting out? You know what I mean? You got to almost get drafted to the perfect situation. And we know how the NFL is. Half these teams, more than half of these teams, have no idea what they're doing when they draft a young quarterback. So
he had about a little under 8,000 passing yards and 58 touchdowns. I don't know when you would rank that. I haven't followed a lot of Georgia quarterbacks, but that sounds pretty good for a career.
Yeah.
But I think his head's not in the right place. And because you brought up his girlfriend, when you think about that, because she and her twin aspire to be professional wrestlers. They don't have a full-time contract, so they're kind of playing it by ear out there. So for him to move out there, it's like, okay, you guys are thinking about something else as opposed to what you should be focusing on career-wise. So
yeah, well, their whole journey, they're basketball players, but they've made more off of all their NIL and their, you know, TikToks and all that kind of stuff. They retired from basketball. The one that's decent at basketball clearly did not want to retire. The one that's like not that good at basketball clearly talked her into it. Then one of them transfers to TCU. Then she untransfers from TCU to stay at Miami. So like, this is what you're hitching your wagon to. You know, they could tomorrow get some deal and be out in California for all we know. So good luck with whatever you think is going on.
So it'd be more about Beck than it does about her.
Yeah.
I hear more about Beck from this than I do about them. It's just insane. But when we get to more college, as opposed to jumping on here. All right, Carissa, got your question. We'll jump into that one. I would probably say in a little bit. And Wynn's in the house. I had an interview earlier today, and Wynn was on there repping our show. Thank you, Wynn, for doing that, for being there. Fantastic insights from you on that show.
Wynn is good people. Wynn's good people.
Without question. All right, so college football playoffs. We won't go too far. We won't go to January 20th, but at least let's go to the games that are on the docket for what's that? I had the dates
today. Talking about today and tomorrow?
Today?
Yeah, it comes up in about 15 minutes, sir. That's why he's you see what he's repping? Yeah. So it says 6:30 my time, which really means like 6:45, almost 7 is when they'll actually kick off. So the show, you know, it might not be till the end of this show. You can never tell with college football. NFL, what I love, and I use everything on my time. NFL, Sunday at noon, like games kick off. If a college football game says 6:30, I mean, you know, it just depends on the bigger the game, the later they start it. So, but yeah, you've got Notre Dame and Penn State coming up here in about 15, anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes.
The 9th and the 10th. All right, that's what I thought also. I'm like, see, I don't know what today's date is. That's where the problem begins. All right. So, all right. So the Irish are going up against Penn State and the Buckeyes against Texas. The lines look reasonable to me. How we seeing that Irish Penn State game? Any lines? How we seeing that game? I know who Shane's rooting for. I'm with you on that.
Shane's repping. I say he gets to go first.
Oh, I'm with him. I'm with him on that one. I'm there. And Rod get his prediction coming through. Good stuff, my man. Love you jumping on that. All right, but Shane, you can go first, man. I'm assuming you're picking the Irish. What's that score looking like, man?
I am. I think if you're Penn State, you need Abdul Carter to have an outstanding game. That's if he can play. The problem, if I'm Penn State, is that Notre Dame's run game right now is really eating up clock and putting points on the board. And you look at the games that Penn State had problems in the Big Ten, that's the teams that dominated them. I think Penn State's offense, if Drew Aller has a good game, the real thing for them is Tyler Warren needs to be nullified. I think that's a much easier thing to say than it is to do for them. But if you look at Notre Dame's last game, I mean, they scored in all three phases of the game. Probably had their most complete game when they needed it most. Kind of news flying out that there's been some illness around Notre Dame, but that's clearing up.
I saw that today. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if they're ready to go, I also think that Marcus Freeman has done a good job of controlling the message to his team.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think Franklin overstepped some things, talking about how the Big Ten does this amount of games, and I think you should have to play in that. I'm sure Freeman mentioned that to those boys to start the day today.
Can I say real quick, Franklin has mismanaged like every public speaking appearance during the playoffs. Not even just the first off, you don't give any fuel to your team, to the other team, regardless. You don't any kind of slight anything at this time of year, right? So, but like before the first game, he's like, "Oh, I hope it snows," blah blah blah. Yeah, when you got a rep. Now talking about, and then I love this one. No slight to them, but and I'm like, that just means you're about to insult somebody. What? Come on,
What's up?
Well, and if I'm Notre Dame, I go, okay. We beat an SEC team. We beat bowl teams. We beat everybody else. If we were a complete member of the ACC, the team that you got lucky enough to play, you would have never played them because that would have been us, and we would have taken another game in the ACC, and you probably wouldn't have got Clemson in there either. So, I mean, I don't disagree with this point. There's definitely been years before where Notre Dame got to do that, but Notre Dame has also always done a good job of the scheduling that they do pull off that are out of conference has always been big names. Like, yes, are they going to play Northern Illinois? Are they going to play Army and Navy and make some money off of those games? And are they not always ranked? But this year, both Army and Navy were tough outs. Took Texas A&M.
Yeah. And that USC game, to their credit, is usually a much better game. And that Stanford game had been better in the past. Yep. So I think sometimes people also forget how far in advance these schedules are made. Like, you're not making the schedule for next year. They're signing contracts for 7-8 years in the past, in the future. If you told them, hey, man, USC's not going to be great this year, you need to bump it up, then they say, okay. But
last time I checked, Purdue and Northwestern still play in the Big Ten. Right. So does Maryland. You want to be careful who you're taking shots at when it comes to that, because that's not to bring that up, that's not a Marcus Freeman thing. He doesn't decide how many games we're going to play. And Notre Dame looks at him and goes, we make more money being independent than what you can pay us in the Big Ten.
Yep.
And that's why they're doing it.
Exactly. Which is why teams run to those conferences. But if you're Notre Dame and you have NBC writing you a check every single year, regardless of who you play, why wouldn't I want the power to decide that? could play in the ACC, and in
That's
the
how I
last
got
couple
with college
years,
sports.
in the last
That's how I
couple
got with
years, they
college
would have
sports.
won the league. So what do you prove by that?
Yep. And which is
I watched
also
it on
funny
NBC
too.
Saturday morning.
Yeah. Two points on top of that. One, all the conference champions are out. So your point to that doesn't really, if you're really trying to talk about conference, Pitt State, you should even be around then if we're worried about that, because you were second in yours. And then number two, every other decision that everyone else is making, coaches, players, teams, is based on money. So you want Notre Dame to be the one entity in all this that doesn't make a decision based on money. And I'm SEC, man. We've never had any love for Notre Dame, but I see why they're doing what they're doing. And let's just stop pretending. Hey, we're going to make a decision based on money, and we're going to move around conferences. But Notre Dame, we don't want you to make a decision based on money. You should just have to join the ACC. Which, by the way,
I never thought I would have this discussion where we brought up Vanderbilt twice in 2 runs of power football. But Franklin had one winning season at Vanderbilt, and Penn State said, we're going to pay you 10 times what Vanderbilt does. And Franklin didn't hesitate. He didn't go, oh, well, you guys only play 8 games, but in the SEC, we play 9 games. But now it matters.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways. You went from a stadium that had 44,000 people in it to 103,000 that come to Penn State. You made the decision you made. It's the same thing for Notre Dame. Like, why would you agree you'd lose all those big money games and you can't set your schedule to go play these teams if you agree to be in the ACC? The problem with what really happens, and I think the real question you should ask if you're Franklin, and I think this is Jim Delaney, this is Warren, the Big Ten dropped the ball. They could have made a very lucrative offer to Notre Dame, and instead, when they couldn't get that, they brought Rutgers and Maryland, and it hasn't done anything for them.
Yeah.
They could have, Chicago, you could have made a real push at Notre Dame. You could have cut a deal with the Big Ten network to be able to work around these type of things. There's ways to get around these deals. And that's where they dropped the ball. Notre Dame before used to play. They played hockey. They played other games in the Big Ten. Now they play all other sports are affiliated with the ACC. This is conference realignment where you drop the ball. Notre Dame is the money making machine, and they don't regret that decision.
Yep. And we apologize to any Rutgers and Maryland people out there that caught that little stray, but it hasn't worked out.
That stray was on purpose. That was a direct shot. That was a direct shot. Right at Greg Schiano.
All right, well, we take that apology back then.
Yeah, exactly. My bad.
We retract that.
I think what we're supposed to say is anything that I say is actually Raj's fault. So
there you go.
That was, I remember we were supposed to bring that up. So
Yes.
Okay.
Dang it, Raj.
Thanks for remembering that. All right. So what's also going on too, and this is not going to change my prediction. I'm going with the Irish on this one.
Same.
A lot closer than some of the numbers I'm seeing from you guys so far. I don't have no 2-touchdown lead. I don't have that. It's a lot short. It's a lot slimmer than that. But several of the players in Notre Dame got the flu. And that was just reported, I think, earlier this morning. So that's not good. They think it's about probably maybe a small handful of backups and special team guys, but they're not saying who it is, which is not. It's smart to not do that.
Right.
Don't open your hand, Don't share your strategy with your opponent. But hopefully they get over that because that could play a part in this game. But I still got them. I got them around 34-31, much more than that 45.5 number they got out there from Vegas. I got to go higher than that there, but 34-31 is what I have with Irish.
That's interesting to me because neither one of these teams likes to throw the ball that much. They're both run and grind, and I think the clock's gonna play. I mean, if this game was like 17-10, I think both of them would be perfectly fine.
I'm rolling with it. I'll stand by if it doesn't work.
Oh, that's fine. I that's to me, it's just an interesting pick. So I would prefer it.
You know why I say that though?
Why?
One of the reasons why I say that because the Drew Aller component.
I don't know why you love that guy. That is your favorite.
I don't love him, but now with the latest news, now I'm like, this guy, he's really going to try to prove something now because the word on the street, I don't know how true it is, but I saw it in 5 different places, so I guess it must be legit. He was saying that if he can guarantee that he'll be a top 3 pick, he'll come out in the draft. So I'm like, okay.
There's
So
0% chance that this game changes that.
Okay.
You just can't give a guy a first round grade based on this. Like when you have the whole body of the work from the whole year, that all of a sudden, because ain't that your boys, the Giants? Would y'all be picking him then?
No. But the only point I'm trying to make here is that I think he's going to make effort to prove himself, because in his mind, he probably think, you know what? I need to do something spectacular here to warrant that 3 pick. I don't care what he did all year. That's not my point. We're going to do it in this game. So the ball in his hands, he's going to throw it more. I just believe that because of what we're hearing in the news. It's not because of his body of work. We've seen that. If he came out this year anyways, before this game, I don't think he'd be in the top 5 before this game.
Mm-mm.
First round, maybe, but not in the top 5. He's going to throw that ball like he got something to prove. I think he does have something to prove, because now he got to back that up. That's why I have a high number for him. Vegas got 45.5. It's going to be more than that. Do you have Notre Dame too, Herb?
Yes, I have Notre Dame. I'm taking Notre Dame.
And I got.
I also I trust Freeman much more than I trust Franklin as well when it comes down to it. So I wish I hadn't heard the flu news, because you never know if they're overstating it or understating it. But no, I think Notre Dame. It's kind of like before the Georgia game. You know, I was like, for Notre Dame, if not now, when? You know, this is one of your best shots at getting, to another title game. So
yeah. So that what was that? It was December or November. That whole month when I was sick, 2.5 weeks of that was the flu. So take that for what it's worth. it didn't disappear in a couple of days. But Wild got him at 24-14. Okay, good number. All right. So Ohio State and Texas. Well, I think they got Texas at -6, if I saw that correctly, which is,
I think Ohio State's favorite, right?
I would have assumed that, but that's not okay. Let's verify the number before I.
6. Well, I have 6 right now on CBS. Depends on where you're looking at it.
Okay. Well, after that game last week, I guess that will get them the confidence. Here's my question to you guys: is what we saw last week an anomaly, or is this the quote unquote real Buckeye team coming to play against Texas?
I think this is. Well, I didn't know Shane wanted to go first. That's all. I think if they get out of their own way, coaching wise, then they have the most talent of any team left, and maybe the talent of any team in the country, period. But there are times where they bang their head against the wall and try to force the run or don't play to their strengths. And, they've had several slow starts this year, which you could probably put on Ryan Day. Bad offensive schemes, which you can put on Chip Kelly. And these last 2 games were one of the ones where they're like, hey, man, we got the best wide receiver in the country. Why don't we just throw him the ball? Maybe the best wide receiver core in the country. Let's just throw the ball a little bit more and see what happens. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's coaching that's held them back to this point. And
there's some bad decisions by Howard too, though. There were several bad decisions.
He's not going to be a great quarterback, but when the teams are loading up, I mean, look, Michigan loaded up against the run, and then they just kept banging their head against the wall, still trying to run it. Versus like against Oregon, they were like, let's just throw the rock. Jeremiah Smith, they were not all great passes they threw to him, but he's going to go up and make you look good most of the time. And I'd rather have a 50-50 ball to him than, anyone else. So I just think coaching is their biggest issue.
Could not agree more with Herb on that. And I think it's classic Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
He would rather you think how intelligent he is than to just be right and score points. Like, he believes that whatever he comes up with is going to be right. And if you look at him, other than when he and Ryan Day, University of New Hampshire, that's the last big championship game that they've won. Ryan Day has failed in all the big games that he's had at Ohio State. Chip Kelly had amazing teams at Oregon, could not get them over the top. I think that the biggest worry is about them being able to pull their way around. I think that they make mistakes when Howard tries to do too much. And like Herb said, I mean, Smith right now is an absolute weapon. It
That's
doesn't
fair.
take great passes. It doesn't take any other skill to get him the ball. But every other team also knows that he's a weapon. And if Ohio State abandons that, like they did when they played Michigan, because like Herb said, they decided they were going to show their dominance and run the ball, and Smith gets, 5 looks and 1 catch, then that's terrible play calling. Like if you're not getting the ball to your number 1 player, that's the problem. Texas has the exact same issue. Ewers makes mistakes because he thinks I'm just going to be able to make this play.
Yeah.
I'll throw the ball through 3 guys as opposed to
Look
check
at
it
the
down and
NFL.
then we're going to go up top.
Yeah.
And that's that's why we're talking about none of these guys are first round quarterback selections, because they have these glaring weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I think Ohio State defensively, if their defense comes to play, they have the biggest ability to make things happen against Texas.
Agreed.
But like Herb said, talent-wise, I think you look at recruiting, you look at what they have, Ohio State is loaded compared to everybody else. It's not even close in my mind.
Yeah.
But I also question, other than Penn State, I question their coaching more than anything else.
Yeah. And I think that even comes from Ohio State fans. So I don't even feel like that's outside people throwing shade. I think if you ask an Ohio State fan, most of the games, they're looking at their coaches and going, like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? I think if Ohio State didn't have the performance they just had, there would be a lot of people that'd be coming for Ryan Day. Yep. He needed that victory, and he needed Ohio State to show up and put some color on what they had to do from the first loss that they had versus Oregon. And if they didn't come ready to go, I don't think there's any hope for them going forward. This victory helps them build off that and takes a little bit of pressure off a Day. But I think even if you're a die-in-the-wool, Ohio State fan, you're questioning what your guy's going to do. And if somebody else was an option for you and you didn't have to pay, $100 million to buy Day out, I'd watch out.
Yeah. Well, one thing for sure, and I know you guys have been watching the same games, Texas has been really susceptible, if you will, in pass protection. And Ohio State, I think they average about 3.5 sacks a game. So they got the 3rd best pass rush in the league. So Texas can't shore that up. It's going to be a long, long, long night for them. And their secondary hasn't been looking good either, which is another big problem against guys like Jeremiah Smith. You can probably see a lot of balls, directly at these guys in the secondary. So it's gonna be a long night. I don't think Texas is winning this game. I think
I'm
the
taking
number
Ohio
that
State also. Yeah.
I think Rogers' number is kind of where I'm close to around that, but I don't know about the 2 touchdowns. I'm not sure. I'm nervous about that part, but we've been closer than maybe 34-21, something like that. But Ohio's going to win this thing outright, I think, unless something miraculous happens. And we talk about coaching on the Ohio State side. If that happens, it should be a monumental flub. If ever there was one, it should be a landslide victory. But talk about the Buckeyes, you never can tell, right? You don't know what they're going to do.
I also wonder if I'm an Ohio State fan, like you mentioned correctly, Yusuf, that it's the defensive line and the pass rush that helps Ohio State. But if I'm an Ohio State fan, I also hope that they don't hurt Ewers. Because if Arch Manning gets to come in and you put him in a spot where he has to make some plays and he catches fire, you're going to regret by having to knock out that number 1, because I don't know how much Texas really even thinks he's the number 1 right now.
I'll say this, though. They gave him a look against Georgia and quickly decided he was not going to be any better than Ewers. So there's something with Arch to where they don't trust him to beat out Ewers. And this is like, again, I understand we're talking about the outside. So I listened after the second Texas lost to Georgia. I went to a Texas podcast, and the guy on the thing, what he said about Ewers was he's not going to lose you many games, but he's not going to win you many games either. And that's kind of to your guys' point about where his draft grade and stuff is. People's outside perception of him is just not, like, hey, I'm this superior guy. Like they say, the guy on there even said he's just a guy. And that's coming from their own fans and their own analysts. You know what I mean?
Well,
that Georgia game, Manning looked gun shy too.
He
I
did.
mean, he took some hits, but I mean, he started looking for the rush a lot earlier than he had in some of those other games he's been in.
Well, he's got no meaningful game action for real, and most of his packages are running packages. So, that's
well, to Shane's point. To me, I think this is actually a good thing. If it does kind of quote unquote hurt his draft stock, I think it's a good thing because number one, I don't think he's a first round pick. I never really thought that. Even early in the season when he was doing pretty positively, I never thought that. So I thought he was going to be second or third, something like that. As low as he can go, I think it would be better for him because it's going to give him a chance to actually learn, have that clipboard, learn from somebody instead of being like, quote unquote, Anthony Richardson and going in and starting and you ain't ready for this. For me, it's like
I laugh because that's my example, man. They bungled that one, and I agree with you. You sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. My bad.
No, you're good. So I think you was as low as he falls back, it's a great thing for him because he needs to have that time to develop because there's some flashes we see like, oh wow, he looks pretty good. This is looking good, and it's something like, oh God.
Yeah.
This is not good.
Now, as far as your rumors go, there's a $6 million offer on the table for him to go to another school and not go in the transfer portal. I mean, not go to the draft.
What would the have you heard the end result? I saw that, but I haven't heard anything.
I've heard I think it was on our show when we were talking to somebody about it. And the two schools they mentioned, which was hilarious to me. The first one they said was Oregon. I said, okay, well, that makes sense because it's championship contender. The second one they mentioned was because I'm assuming Gabriel's gone. And so if you're paying somebody $6 million for next year, you have to think we got a chance at winning. But I think Duke played their QB $4 million, and you guys have no shot at the title next year. So I don't get where the numbers come from. But yeah, he got 4. But the other school I heard was Michigan State, and I was like, Michigan State? Why? Like, why?
Why? Well, okay.
I'm sorry. Michigan State with Ewers has 0% chance of winning. Michigan State with Patrick Mahomes has 0 chance of winning next year. So I don't.
This is going to turn Michigan State hate. It's just not.
I'm starting it though. So look, anybody that thinks it's Michigan State hate can direct it at me instead of anybody else because I started it.
It's a bad idea.
We're just taking shots at everybody tonight.
Yes.
No, viewers, if you can hear us, you got a friend that knows you that can send you a text. Please don't do that.
I'll tell you what, though, Yusuf, you make a good point with the NIL. I mean, right now, if I'm a quarterback, especially we'll say SEC, and I'm getting nice NLL money, I have already made that money that I normally would have been looking to try to make as a first-round quarterback where I'm locked into the 3-year low cap room quarterback. I'd take that NL money, and then when I'm a 3rd-round pick, I got paid $9 million up front from college. I can sit on it and actually play for a team that's got a chance to let me sit and see what's going on, as opposed to going, hey, let's get out of here and go make our money in the league.
Yeah, I think the only thing is you delay your NFL, time and getting to that NFL money, but otherwise, no, spot on. I mean, and that's what guys are doing, man. That's an exact, spot on.
Yeah, well, I can't blame him for that. But next year, if he does that, he'll still be in the same spot he's in right now. He'll be richer, but he ain't gonna be in no first round.
Well, and that's the thing, though. Like, how many times have we seen where you have a quarterback that blows the league away in college, and then it gets to the draft, and you let actual scouts break down the film and go do it? And that's where they find all your problems. For 4 years, everyone talked about how great you were. And then now that you're going to the NFL, we find out that, oh, by the way, you have small hands and you completed less passes to your left side than you did to your right side. Things that people didn't worry about before, the scouting world breaks that stuff apart. So, like you said, you're sitting in the NCAA for another year. You let them see you. Anthony Richardson, again, to the point that you've already made, Yusuf, that's the thing. You play at Florida for 1 year. You don't even play. Your team doesn't do well, but you make some outstanding plays. You make
here and there.
A couple of outstanding. Well, I mean, it helps. Like when people talk about the SEC, getting to play on ESPN and having more eyes on you does help you. Like, there's no doubt. Like, I'm sure Ashton Genty, regardless how many times Fox put him on air, he would have loved to have some other games where people on the East Coast got a chance to see him play more.
Yep.
That's fair. That's fair.
And
Pac-12 was
Travis
fighting that
Hunter,
for years.
no knock on him, but having Prime and
Yes.
everything that he brings brought that attention to him.
Yep.
All right. Raj, I love you, brother. But help me out with a scenario where you think I'm gonna put on an Ohio State shirt anywhere in public where I can be seen. I need you to give me a scenario. I didn't lose no bet. So I'm like, show me how I would wear this shirt and be on camera somewhere. I don't see.
I think he was just doing that out of the kindness of his heart.
The kindness. Send me a Michigan shirt if you want to be real kind.
I'm impressed that as a Michigan fan that Yusuf even mentioned that school. He said the full title of that university.
I've done this like a million times in the show. I ain't that kind of fan. I can talk about other teams and not go ballistic. It doesn't bother me that much. But I can't, that shirt and wearing that on my skin. I don't know about that one. This is
I get a
ballistic, but I'm allergic to Ohio State.
Yeah. So we do on our show, we do a thing where we dress up as, the other school to do a little skit or whatever. The one shirt that I will not wear is an Auburn one. I will throw it next to you like whatever. So
you got other stuff other than Bama in your closet?
Yeah. You know what tells me? That tells me you do not subscribe to our style. that kind of hurts right here because we've been doing that for about 3 years. So hold on, wait. I gotta recover real quick.
You know that I can't catch you sometimes. You know that. You know. Okay. I'm doing other stuff. You know better. You know I love you. It
just hurts. That's all.
I'm sorry.
Even when they did the crossover with the Bulldog podcast, they also all wore Bulldog stuff for one run. So
I know
it hurts. That means I've worn a Michigan shirt.
I know I missed that episode.
Auburn is tough. I don't really disagree with you on that, Herb.
Yeah. Okay, but Tennessee, it was tough enough wearing Tennessee. I couldn't do Tennessee and then have to wear an Auburn one as well. So
at least it's a standard. That's good. It's good to know. Okay. All right, that's good to know. All right. So I'll ask you guys about Deion Sanders. We got to stay here. I want to jump into the head coach firings and the potential hirings in the NFL, and then our predictions for a wild card and playoff weekend, and then we'll close the show out. I want to ask you, if you guys want to get into it, it ain't no big deal to me. But you heard Deion's comments about the only scenario that he will come and coach in the NFL. You guys heard that?
Yeah, when he has to get both of his sons.
Yeah. Both.
And not his pseudo son, his real sons.
Yeah.
Pseudo son. God almighty. All right, so
well, I'm saying pseudo son because of Travis Hunter.
Yeah,
he knows where Shador is going, but where's Shiloh going?
Does he know
is that almost is
Does he know that? Where Shador going? Because I don't know that.
No, I meant like he's going first round. I'm sorry, excuse me. He knows for sure he's getting drafted early. You don't know anything about his other son, right?
Shadow's coming out too?
That's what I'm saying. He's like, if he's going to coach both, I'm assuming like, is he going out? What's his draft grade? What, you know what I mean? Like,
I haven't heard his name at all.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So that's my point to it. I'm like, I don't know where that's headed.
So this is going to take us back into our conversations about Colorado way back in early 2024, late 2023. Don't recall when it was.
Back in the
this kind of comment. What's the point of this comment? Why are you saying this? You get it? You got to saying just now that you only know where Shadow's going. Shadow hadn't even declared, as far as we all know. Why would you say something like this? What's the point of this? Is there anything I'm missing that's going over my head?
Well, I'll say this. I bet you he didn't just come out and say it. I bet you it's a question. I didn't watch the whole clip, but I'm 1,000% sure that they addressed it into a certain way and kind of painted him in a corner, and now he had to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm good with this if you guys. I was just wondering, like, am I missing something?
I think it also shows why Deion wouldn't want to be in the NFL. Like in college, he could have both of his sons play for him. He could have Travis Hunter play for him. He could have whatever he wants. You know, if you can go get him and you can get him to stay at school, then you have him. If I'm Deion and I want to set the tone and change a culture, what GM am I going to work for? You know, who am I going to have that's going to help me to set the tone? Because no NFL team is going to let him also run the scouting.
No.
The one that really wants him to put a show on is the Dallas Cowboys, and nobody runs the scouting department there.
No.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I get, and I think that again is why this year, this is going to be one of the years where college coaches are not going to get a ton of interviews in the NFL, because college guys are going to turn down that run. Like, as much as the NIL, people want to talk about how, it's changed with the NIL. I think the NIL in some ways makes it easier, because we all know that there were teams that were running these deals before this was legal. And then now it's just above board and there's no real rules. So you can set up a collective and pick somebody to run that and let them go get it. And you just have to coach and take in the talent that they bring in.
That's what
in the
Belichick
NFL,
is doing.
In the NFL, say you go to a team, like any team that's going to make a run for him, they're already going to be bad because you got rid of your coach. So now, where do you sit draft-wise? What's your stock? What are you going to be able to get out of that? Say Deion goes to New England. You have a chance you could probably link up Travis Hunter. You know, maybe you could make some moves like that. But you're going to have a GM that's going to tell you this is what we're going to do. How are you going to change everything around? How are you going to have the freedom you want to have? And the NFL doesn't care that you want to wear this or you want to wear that, or this is how we're going to do things. And I love Deion as a coach. I think that people go after him for the pop and circumstance of him being a professional athlete and doesn't really pay attention to a lot of the messages that he delivers to his players and the way that he goes about it. But I think that's a great head coach in college. I don't think that makes you a great coach in the NFL.
I agree.
If you don't have something to hang your hat on as a play caller in the NFL, there's not a lot of CEO head coaches in the NFL, because you need to be able to have something that when it gets tough, they trust that you're going to be the one that makes the right call for them.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna keep on moving through, but I think the one concern for me is not even this year. It's a year or two later when you got sons trying to force trades to each other's teams, and you got head coaches looking over their shoulder because of what Deion said. That's the stuff I'm thinking about right now. I think it was a reckless comment. I don't know the context of it, but it shouldn't have been said at all. But we're running against the clock here, so we're going to try to move a little bit faster here. Head coach firing. Rather than run through all of the ones that I had designed to talk about, hit me up with what you think was the one that bothered you the most or whatever, or the one that's the most potential that you think is interesting, a potential hire, or a name that you're kind of watching to see where he ends up as a head coach. So go ahead and run that, and we'll.
If we're gonna talk one, I gotta ask Shane directly. Like, did he agree with Mayo being fired? That's the one that stuck out to me.
I don't disagree with them being fired, but I think that I think especially as stories are starting to come out, and even for Kraft, I think they set him up for failure. Yeah. And I think that Kraft wanted somebody so far away from Belichick in personality that he thought that Jared Mayo was going to have a year to be under Belichick. And I don't know where he ever thought that Belichick was going to be this loving and caring person to carry him on.
Have you met him?
But if you were looking for somebody, that's my biggest knock is you're going to make the decision you should have made last year, this year. Yeah. They're going all in on Vrabel.
Yeah.
And they had the chance. And a lot of what happened in Tennessee with them deciding to get rid of Vrabel was Vrabel going to the Ring of Honor ceremony in New England and saying how great it was to be a Patriot and how everything worked out well and that you got to be a professional and you got to do this. And Tennessee's owner took that to heart, and it just made for, a tough go. The thing for Vrabel is he has another year. I mean, being in Cleveland, he got to do a lot, but I don't think that it's going to, I don't think how that team played really had any effect on what he did. But I think Kraft, again, he's one of those guys that likes to be thought of as the smartest one in the room.
Right.
And he's got a lot of power in the NFL. And he just thought, hey, we're the Patriots. I can put Jared Mayo. He learns, he's got that. And from what the stories, especially today, that are coming out, and I know the Boston Herald did a huge write-up about it, but guys were just testing him as a first-year coach. and he never put his foot down. He just let things happen. You have the Ramondre Stevenson. We're not gonna start him. Apparently, the message doesn't get to my running back coach, and he starts.
Right.
We have wide receivers that are missing, the team flights. They're making all sorts of other problems, and the Patriots were just in total disarray. You got lucky that Drake May played well.
Right.
But I mean, the problems for the Patriots were long before they ever put Jared Mayo in this position.
Right.
The lack of talent had a solid offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is if I'm Jared Mayo, I would have gone and got somebody who was not Alex Van Pelt. That in my mind, I do not understand. If you're an offensive coordinator and you had
you going on long, man. You all right, man? You all right?
Van Pelt I don't understand him. It never has been a good offensive coordinator, and he keeps on getting opportunities. It's like Ken Dorsey. You hire him to fire him. So why would you do that?
Yeah. Professional sports does a lot of recycling where coaches are involved, though. It's not even just the NFL.
Yeah, no. I mean, all the names that we're seeing out here, it's just they just spin them around. Ben Johnson got 4 opportunities to be a head coach. Think he ain't gonna get one of those? Chicago, New England, Jacksonville, or Las Vegas? He's gonna get one of those. It's not gonna be hard. Robert Sala's name is out here again. I think he's the favorite to be in Las Vegas, which is shocking to me. But and the Niners winning back as a DC, a whole bunch of stuff. Herb, anybody that jumps out that you maybe Antonio Pierce or anything?
No, that was the big to me. Pierce we'd kind of already talked about. So for me, it was interesting that they fired Peterson but kept Balky in Jacksonville. That one, I don't get that, and that to me makes that job a little less attractive as the next coach, because now I'm like, not that the coach needs to be the GM, but you need to have a good working relationship. And now basically what you're saying is what's happened here is not the talent's fault and it's not the GM's fault. So there's no accountability for him. It's just all the coaching. Come on, they've had a lot of big whiffs over the last couple of years. So you can't tell me that it's just the coach's fault here.
Yeah. Brady holding a grudge against Antonio Pierce because that Super Bowl win in 2007. That's all this is about. Yeah, I love how, and this is a side note, Jerry Jones, he blocked McCarthy from talking to the Bears, saying he's not sure he wants to make a coaching change. When are you going to be sure, man? How much time are you going to take? You going to wait until there's no more jobs left? And man going to be out on the street? I don't understand that. If you want him, go ahead and bring him back through. If you don't want him, let him be free to. Because if his name gets released out here as a free agent, so to speak, he will get a whole bunch of looks.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, coaching, that wasn't the Dallas Cowboys' problem. They got other problems, mainly the man whose name I just mentioned. He's probably one of the biggest problems on this thing. But aside from
got the alert too that the game got moved officially to Glendale.
Yep.
Okay. That's actually good news. Aside from that, man, the Telesco firing, that kind of shocked me a little bit. He's known for his time in the Los Angeles with the Chargers. High draft acumen. I mean, he hit on all 3 of his big drafts with the Raiders. They all panned out well. I mean, they had the second youngest roster in the entire league. Most of the guys, I think, almost a little less than half of them were all injured on the IR, all their starters. I mean, so for him and Pierce getting fired, it's like they had their back against the wall. What you going to do? I mean, you lost all your starters, and the guys that you do have, it's like they're out there, on fume because you're short, and then you got the youngest roster, which is what you kind of want with a new regime, the youngest roster, right? You have years on the books with these guys on the field playing in your system, and all that worked against them. So now the next guy coming in for GM going to have $107 million to work with. I'm like, what is happening? So that one kind of shocked me a little bit. I didn't expect him to get fired, but then I hear about Belichick and Brady won him in. It's like, this is just a Las Vegas nightmare. They don't know what they're doing out there. It's crazy. But Kingsbury name, that's a shocker to me. We'll jump over this in a little bit, but Kingsbury, he got some interest from a couple of teams too. I think, two, the Bears and the Saints. He might end up staying, but aside from that,
one of my points about guys like that is those certain people have proven to be better in coordinator roles than head coaches. So
like Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, man, maybe Robert Saleh too. That's why San Francisco wants. Maybe that's his path back. So Flores has said he's going to talk to everybody, but is he a better DC than he is a head coach? Like it's not insulting these guys. It's just sometimes you're good at what you're good at. So it's going to be interesting to hear.
Last question on this one. The Jets won a Spagnuolo, which is really funny to me. But Aaron Glenn, I heard a lot of mixed reviews from Lions fans throughout the years. 5 teams are after him right now.
Yeah.
Is he in the same category as you just mentioned? You think he's better as a coordinator and not as a head coach? Or is he different?
They've drafted really well and put together some good teams lately. They're hitting on almost every pick. So it's kind of like, is it the talent around you? Or are you just coaching better? Like we're used to Detroit being like, the laughing stock. And all of a sudden it's like, what was their last bad pick? We laughed at Gibbs being drafted too early. And now they're just nailing. And on the defensive ball, they're filling in pretty well. So, I think those are just going to be the hot names. But is he good at the head coach? It's just a huge jump to me when you go from one side of the ball to, I don't know anything about what the offense is doing, but now I have to kind of manage it. You know what I mean? So some guys just aren't.
Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah. I think also to Herb's point, and I think this is Kingsbury exactly. Yeah. It's a lot easier being your quarterback's favorite pal and your offense's go-to guy than being the head coach, where sometimes you have to come down on them, where you're not the cheerleader for them. And that happened in Arizona for him when he had to say stuff to Kyler Murray and take some shots at him that he didn't really want to. And you can be the offensive coordinator and you can just say, like, Jaden's our man. He does a great amount of work. He's going to fight through it. We're going to score points. That's what we're there for. Yeah. It's a whole different scenario when you have to try to get that defense to believe in you.
Thank you.
Especially when you're somebody like Kingsbury, where you're going, we're going to keep on trying to score as fast as we can. And defenders are going, are you ever going to help us? Is there any plan to help us?
Yeah.
And Aaron Glenn at least has been a defensive coordinator for an offensive coordinator that at times has put his defense in tough situations. But I mean, I think this year with the amount of injuries Aaron Glenn's had, it shows.
That's a good point.
It shows well for his coaching, but I don't see him as a head coach. I see him as a good coordinator, and I think Dan Campbell does a great job of eating a lot of the hard questions that come from Detroit definitely. That could have been put down to a coordinator. And Dan Campbell just goes, this is the way we are. This is the Lions. Bite them in the kneecap, fight them, that type of stuff. And so people jump on that, and they'll play against that stereotype.
Yep, I agree. Thanks. And the fact that and just real quick, just something I'd never considered that Shane brought up, that defensive guys and coaching offensive guys, you just talk to everybody different. And it might explain to you why so many defensive coordinators have flamed out at the head, because you can't go and yell at the quarterback. It was like LaFlores and Tua's situation. You just can't go yell at the quarterback the way you yell at your middle linebacker in most cases. So
yeah, right. They don't like it makes them sad.
Yeah.
So real quick predictions for all of our playoff games. I run them down. I don't have any odds or anything. Maybe we'll just run them down, close the show out, and let you guys get back to your night. So Chargers at Texans, 4:30 p.m. Should be Sunday, right? Yeah. So Chargers versus Texans. I got the Chargers. How about you guys?
Chargers as well.
I thought I was picking an upset, but the Chargers are favored. So I'm not even picking an
so
upset.
Did I.
I know you wasn't picking Stroud this one because you already were well documented on how you felt about his season and his fallback. So it's happening too, just like clockwork. Steelers at Ravens. This is the kind, like I said, this is the kind of game that you never know because it's a division rival. I'm going with the Ravens, going to keep it safe. Some guys are not healthy, like Zay Flowers. I don't know what's going to happen, but because Russell Wilson and company can't score but a certain amount of points every week,
right?
I'm going with the Ravens here. It's probably going to be the ugliest game we've ever seen in our entire lives. I'm going with the Ravens. How about you guys? Ravens.
I think as long as you still have Likely and Andrews, I think you're fine in your passing game. So I'm going Ravens still. I don't trust the Pittsburgh offense at all.
I like Minka Fitzpatrick, but not by.
They're
Not
just
by
having to
yourself.
do too much.
Not by yourself. Yeah. All right. Broncos at Bills. I'm going Bills here. The
Yeah.
Broncos are kind of like that hot pick, that hot girl. I'm going Bills here still. You guys feel the same way? Bills across the board.
Yeah.
This is easy tonight.
I mean, the thing is, too, if you're the Bills, this is why you're happy that you ended up with the record you did, because not that conditions are going to be terrible for a Denver team, but to get to play in front of that crowd in Buffalo with Josh Allen right now playing out of his mind, that's exactly what they want. It's going to be a tough out. And like you said, I think Denver, the thing for Denver, though, is the pass rush and the defensive backs for them have played outstanding this year. Could Knicks catch fire and be able to go in a battle here? I don't see it. I think Buffalo gets it, but this is one of the tight ones, I think.
But you got to remember, the Bills defense hasn't been looking good, so we can't act like that's going to all change in the playoffs. They haven't been.
I mean, right
good.
now, I don't even know who plays for the Bills defensively. I mean, that's
Von
their
Miller,
biggest question. Who's going to show up and play for you?
Von Miller, and that's not a good situation right now. So everybody got Bills. All right, Packers at Eagles. I'm struggling with this one. But I'm gonna go with the Eagles here, especially if Hurst is back from the concussion. I think they're gonna.
And Jordan Love's not 100%. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Eagles here. I guess you guys feel the same way. And this one right here is a tough one. Commanders at Buccaneers.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Commanders with the upset. I don't know why I'm saying that. I just kind of feel like these young guns going against these established veterans. I just kind of feel like this is one of those games where they just punch them in the mouth and that's a wrap.
Yeah. This could be a fun game though. This might be, if you're an offensive guy, could be one of the most fun ones of the weekend. But yeah, I'm going Commanders.
Go Caps, baby. All right, Shane, you too?
Yeah, with Ben, I picked the Commanders, but I said with Baker Mayfield playing the way he is right now, and that the Buccaneers are a lot more healthy than they have been at any other point in the year, I think, like Herb said, I think this is going to be one of the outstanding scoring matchups. I don't know how much defense is going to be played, if any at all, but I think this one's going to run it up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, very much so. Right. Last game, Vikings at Rams. I'm going Rams here. I know they got Justin Jefferson on the other side. I know, supposed to be the so-called number one receiver. I understand. I'm going Rams here. I think Rams. I think Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks in his playoffs, in my opinion. Stafford.
I think Sam Darnold is one of those, like, we thought he'd have a better year because of more weapons around him, but also expected him to fail at a key time, and that's the Sam Darnold experience. So I'm going Rams. They already beat him once this year too, so I'm going Rams again.
Me too. All right, Shane, how about you, man? You are a deciding pick. What you got?
I'm going Vikings on this, and I think it's for the defense. I think Flores is going to get some things moving on there. I mean, if I'm the Rams, it's Puka Nacua and pray for rain right now. And I think that's great because he's an outstanding player. But I think the Vikings have more opportunities. I think defensively they play better. If you're the Rams, you're right now really hoping that the former Florida State Verse and Fisk have outstanding games, or it's going to be a long day. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to do a great job to keep Darnold out of making those decisions, like Herb said. Sam Darnold's got to see it go somewhere. There's going to be an interception. There's going to be a terrible play. But I think Kevin O'Connell is going to balance the offense so that he doesn't give him an option to make those mistakes.
Yeah.
Agree with that too.
Well, Cooper Kupp is healthy as far as I know, so that's going to be another added weapon. And Kyron Williams, I think it's going to be crazy. So these games are going to play out, and when we come back next Thursday, we'll look at the next round of the playoffs, and we'll predict that, man. But any closing thoughts before we bounce out of here from you guys?
Man, a weekend of college playoffs and NFL playoffs. This might be the greatest weekend of my life.
Same here. I'm going to be glued. Well, I hope I am. Something's always going on with me. But hopefully I'm glued to the TV set. I can see all that stuff too, because football, man. When it's gone, we're gonna be up in here crying with Kleenex and whatnot. Oh man, we got to watch the UFL now. So I ain't looking forward to that. So Shane, any closing thoughts?
No, I like you guys said. I think this is going to be a good weekend of football. And the other thing for this is it regardless of who wins these college playoff games, there's always going to be plenty of time to complain about the way that they were selected and how many teams should be in the playoff and everything like that. So, I mean, the fun continues. You're never going to
Oh
get
yeah.
to not say
Yeah.
this is a mistake and this is the way it
Yep.
should have been. And
What one team is happy, and all the rest of us will complain about whatever we could complain about.
exactly.
Oh,
There's somebody in Texas right now that has some conspiracy board up in their basement that says that UTEP should have been in the national championship game. So, I mean, that's what college football is all about. Fans will support their team regardless of the numbers or actual victories on the board. And I think people are just happy that they're not Marshall fans right now.
oh boy. Well, thank you guys for listening. This was fun. And Herbert tell you, we're going to squeeze that sponge until it's totally dry. We're going to get all the moisture there is out of football all year long. That's what we do. But
Looking forward
have
to
a great night, guys. Thank you again for all you do. All the listeners out here. It's been fun. Catch you guys on the flip side next week. Out.